Kukui, Ferguson, and Justin Gaethje. This is one of the fights that people were just thinking that Tony was going to end up in the later rounds, be able to take it to Justin and wear Justin outright. But Tony was getting significantly bombed on. I'm talking like power shots. You could hear that power shot. It's like, and Tony kept coming forward. Is there a point where not the referee has to step in and say the fight's done? Is there a point where his coaches, Tony's coaches, should just throw in the towel because he's getting beat down too much? I don't care if it's Tony Ferguson, Anderson Silva. There's a point where I believe as a coach you should step in and say, hey, enough is enough. My fighter, he ain't gonna win the fight. There's no way he's gonna come back. It's in the 5th round. He's just getting bombed on. He's just basically standing there getting whooped. His eyes busted up. His face is bloody. We need to just throw in the towel and call it a day so he can live to fight another day. Or you think because there isn't a championship title fight, they should let the fight go? I believe honestly that Eddie Bravo and his his other coaches should have threw in the towel and said, hey, enough, man. You had 12 fight winning streak. Enough is enough. Because at one point he got hit so hard like this that he got cracked like this. His legs buckled, okay? And there was one point in the fight, which I never assumed I would ever see Tony do this. He got hit so many times that at one point he was running from Justin. Like, actually he ran this way. Like, actually ran away from him because he was just getting beat up too much. This is the kind of fight, and I'll say it again, this is the kind of fight that will either make him or break him. Either he'll go back to the drawing board and start over from scratch and start working on some other things, or he'll come out and do some like jiu-jitsu or wrestling, because he is a good wrestler with phenomenal grappling, or he just shortened his career and he'll never be the same guy that he once was. Like, he'll go into the next fight and possibly just get beat up again, because there is a lot of times in fighters' career where they'll be in a brawl like that, and then it significantly messes them up for the rest of their career. They're not the same as they were because they just got significantly beat down. Has never been beat up like he was. People were saying it was insanely crazy how much he was beat down. Like, John McCarthy said the same thing that Josh Thompson said. Enough is enough. That's why the referee basically jumped in and was like, nah, man, I've seen enough. Like, you're not defending yourself. And like Big John was saying, was there any way that Tony was going to knock out his opponent to win the fight? Possibly no. Was there any way he was going to be able to get him in a grappling submission where he could finish his opponent? And they said, no, there's no physical way that he could get him into a grappling situation and win that fight. There's no possible way. So once Tony Ferguson was just going like this, shaking his head, like he really didn't know where he was. Like, when you get hit and you're just like shaking your head like, what? Like the lights are on but no one's home. You need to just stop the fight, because your opponent, like even Justin's like, yeah, I dominated the fight, but I don't think a fighter wants to beat their opponent so bad that they're in the hospital and they don't know what happened. Like, they're like, what happened? And they'll go back and watch the fight and be like, what happened? And Dana White made an assumption that Tony Ferguson cut weight in April, like 2 weeks before, and then cut weight again. So probably his body was super dehydrated because he made the weight even though he didn't have to. He made the weight for the April 18th fight card at Taki Palace. He made the weight, which he didn't have to. Then he made the weight for the Justin Gaethje fight. So probably cutting that much weight in that much time, he probably depleted his body a lot. And that's why when he was fighting, he was just like slower, and he didn't seem like himself. Maybe it wasn't himself because the crowd wasn't going, ooh, ah, yay, like that. Maybe it was the crowd, because a lot of what Josh Thompson was saying, a lot of the fights could have probably been better if there was a crowd, because the crowd would have been cheering and getting crazy, going crazy, and the fighters would have heard that and started going nuts too. When there's no crowd, all you hear is, and you're just hearing the smacks and the slaps and the breathing, and that's it. So overall, they're saying maybe a Tony Ferguson versus a Conor McGregor fight would be the next fight for Tony. The only thing I would say for Tony is he didn't have to take the fight. He's a guy like a Cowboy Donald Cerrone who'll fight anybody, anytime, anywhere. And Tony was on a 12-fight win streak, hasn't lost in 8 years. Last time he lost was 2012, and he was an Ultimate Fighter competitor and winner, and he had the undisputed 155-pound title, the interim title, but he lost last Saturday night. And my thing is, if I would have been him, I would have just waited until Khabib and all of them could have got the fight together. And I wouldn't have thought it would have been a bad thing if he would have waited until, let's say, April, in like June, July, whenever the fight would actually happen. Because to be completely honest with you, it's just a very sad situation, because it wasn't like he was taking pitter-patter punches like what Diaz would throw at him, like 100 punches. No, he was getting hit with dominating strikes, like legitimately strikes that would knock other opponents on their ass. And Justin was just throwing everything into him, and Tony was still able to come forward. Sometimes, like I said, it's good that the referees have to just jump in and say, enough, man, enough. You're too good for yourself. Some people said, well, it was Chuck Liddell supposedly said, why did they stop the fight? They should have kept going. A fighter's gonna say that they should keep going, right? But as a MMA fan, I thought they should have stopped. They could have stopped the fight in the third round. I don't think Tony Ferguson won any round. The only thing I do think, if there was more, what was it, the second round or first round? Whenever he uppercutted Justin and Justin got rocked, if he would have had more time on the clock, he could have won that fight. I believe if there was more time on the clock when he would have uppercutted Justin, he would have had the ability to finish Justin right then and there, and he would have won the fight. I believe that wholeheartedly. If you go back and you see how Justin got rocked, you would have seen he could have got finished, but the reason he didn't, it's because they basically ran out of time, and he hit him with like a couple seconds left in the round. But if it would have been like a minute left, Tony Ferguson would have won that fight. But it was a different outcome because Tony was just a little bit slower, and he was just getting hit with those extremely violent power shots. And from what I understand, and from what I'm watching, Justin landed like 96, 97% of his strikes. There might have been a few here and there that he missed, but overall, that dude was just going bonkers, nuts, savage with the power shots. Even his coach was like, "Hey, yo, tone it down a little bit. Go instead of 100%, go 75%." But if it would have been me in Tony's corner, I would have definitely pulled the towel out and threw it in and said, "Hey, yo, you live to fight another day, man. Maybe you're not as good as you thought you were, or this is not what's gonna happen. Like they start talking that kind of stuff. Like, maybe you should retire. Maybe you're not as good as you once were. Maybe you're just being slow. Maybe you're just you had an off night. Maybe it was the weight cutting twice. Maybe it wasn't the right time to take a fight. Maybe you weren't prepared because you were prepared for a Khabib fight, and then you took this fight, and taking this fight is a total different ballgame. So you were preparing for a wrestler that does ground and pound, and then you got a boxer who's phenomenal, and you couldn't hang with him. You just got outclassed, and that's what happened. He got outclassed, but Tony did land a few good shots on Justin, but his shots weren't good enough. But as always, guys, this has been another MMA breakdown of what I believe happened in that fight.